way,
Yeah, okay.
right? That way. So you will. I know that way. Then I know that you will understand the concepts. Otherwise, you'll forget. Like after a few days, after a few weeks, you'll forget. Okay, practice. Yeah.
So what's the advantage you said about the advantage of static variable, right? I was writing
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Let me first recap quickly this constructor. Then I will come to static. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So this constructor, right? It is basically one type of method, special type of method, and it is used to initialize the object. So the constructor is called are invoked at the time of object creation when we are creating objects using. So the last example we have created multiple objects, student objects from by using student class. So while creating the student object, that time this constructor is called. So this is one type of method. Student is one student method, which is nothing but constructor. So constructor have the same name as class name, and it there are two types of constructors, default constructor as well as parameterized
And
constructor.
parameters, yeah.
Yes, parameterized constructor. So the rules for constructor, creating constructor, there are basically two rules define the constructor. Constructor name should be the same as class name, and constructor must have no explicit return type. So that means this will already, like this constructor already will return, this constructor by default will return the object. If you look at our objects creation, this constructor will return object. So we don't need to put explicit return type. So what is the return type? So here if you look at it, right, get student number. So what is the return type is int. So it will return the number, student number, which is integer type, integer data type. So this method data type is integer. So and the same way here if you look at it, set student number, this method return is void nothing but nothing. Okay, it doesn't return anything. Okay, no need to return anything. So the same way student actually method, it's nothing but constructor student. The constructor method name should be same as class name, and it does return nothing, like explicitly we should not like put any return type. That is the constructor. And there are other, like two rules. These are like these are not mandatory rules, or like uh, like mandatory or required rules to follow. The third one is constructor can have any access modifier, and it will have initialization code. These access modifiers I didn't cover it, next class I'm covering. So now, types of constructor, there are two types of constructors. Default constructor, nothing but no argument constructor, and parameterized constructor, second one is. So default constructor, the constructor that have no parameters is known as default constructor. That means, so this is the default constructor, this doesn't have any parameter or argument. So I told you what is parameter, right? So this constructor has parameters. So this is not default constructor, and this is the default constructor. So that's about default constructor. And default constructor provide the default values of object, like based on the default variables. And the syntax, what is the syntax for default constructor? Class name, this open bracket and close bracket, and open parenthesis close parenthesis. That is how, like we'll write. So if there is no constructor in class, compiler automatically create constructor. That means if you don't put these two, right? So suppose if you say we'll remove these two, okay? So this compiler, right, automatically create default constructor. So like this will create automatically, so that we don't need to explicitly mention default constructor. And the example they I mean the document they give an employee, but I took student example. So if we create object with the default constructor, it will error out because of, like that's a different thing. So parameter constructor that have parameter is known as parameter constructor. So example is here employee, which has some the employee class has employee is one of the constructor with all properties, are like parameters, and this will initialize all the, like properties, and when you create a new object with employee, so you need to pass all the values, and then it will create the object using these values. That's about constructor. Any questions in constructor which I explained earlier? Any basic, you can ask any question. I will try to answer.
Okay, so I have a question for this.
Yeah.
So I know the default construction has following the blueprint that we gave it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Without the parameter.
Yeah.
So if we have like already the default construction, taking blueprint and making like a defaultly like answer, getting back what
Correct.
we asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why, what in the, like, I know parameter is like we need to define
Okay. Okay. That's
student
good.
number, string, and everything, right?
That's good
So
question. Yeah. So I will tell
and
you.
then what's exactly if I'm getting the result, if it's coming the outcome, if it's the same thing. So why we need to really care if it's default or parameter? I know what's parameter. I know what's default. It's like the outcome is at the end of the day coming like the blueprint, right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
So why is that like a big deal?
Okay. The only advantage is less lines. Okay. So we don't need to write much code. So if suppose let's say we don't have parameters constructed here. Okay.
Yeah.
For injecting student number, student name, and grade, right? So what we have to do? So let's assume that there is no default constructor. There is no parameters constructor. So now what we have to do? We have to write lot of more lines of the code. Okay. So let's do that. So now I have student one object here, but it doesn't have any of these values like Sam 001 and all that, right?
Yeah.
For injecting those values, what we have to do? We have to write these 3 lines of the code. Okay. So I need to set using this default object, whatever we got it, without any values, right? This object doesn't have any student number, student name, and grade, right? Because this is a plain object now. This is a plain object.
Exactly.
So we need to set the values explicitly once we create the object with the default constructor. So the only advantage, we reduce the number of lines of code with this parameters constructor. Okay. Now these 4 lines, this is anyway this comment one. So these four lines are equal to this single line, right? Here we pass all the parameters, and with the single line, single statement, I can define a student one object with all the values. That is the advantage. Did you get it? What I'm saying?
Oh, it's like, so we can basically saving the time and saving the space.
Correct. Saving the space. Yes, that's correct.
The space. Okay.
Yeah. So now this is one object, right? Like assume that there are 10 objects we are creating. So 10 objects, right? We have to write 40 lines. Each one has 4 lines, right? But with this approach, with this parameters constructor, only 10 lines we can write, right? So each one, so that will reduce a lot of code and space. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the constructor?
Which one is mostly used? Like
parameters constructor we use mostly in real time. This we use. So
because it's also short and saving.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that equivalent to arrow function or not?
Auto function.
Arrow function.
Arrow function. Okay, that is arrow function is different. I will talk more on the arrow function. Okay, in coming classes. It's a different. Yeah.
Because like also the making saving time and JavaScript at least.
Yeah, JavaScript. Yeah, arrow function. What it does, once you define the function there, and then we can re-refer and provide the values, right, using arrow function.
Yeah, you calling like
yes. Yeah, it's similar but not exactly same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you understand the concept constructor? Any questions?
Yeah, I got the concept, but I think I have to practice more.
Yeah, practice. That's what I'm
Yeah,
telling, right? So practice more.
yeah,
That is important. Yeah. Yeah, then you can understand. Practice different the programs so that you can understand. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll move on to static. So the static. Static can be variable, method, and black. So I teach like static variable. So I will talk more now. So static variable, right? Like the advantage of static variable is saving the memory. As I told, so they assume that there is one property which is college name or school name. Okay, if you have a school name, so or college name. So this college name or school name is common for all the objects of same class. So let's say like there are four objects we are creating: student one, student two, student three, and student four. So if you don't have static, so how we can set the value? We have to set the value for all these like using so using constructor, right? So we have to set the values like this. We have to, so grade final stuck up college name. Okay, so this is the constructor. So if you want to provide college name for each object, so now this constructor, right? We need to pass college name separately, like so college name as origin same college name, right? So for all the students, same college name, originated like this.
So also in static, while you're doing that, so once you defined, so you don't have to repeat it. Like
Yes, yes,
if you define the name, you don't have let's say not name, I just the name of the school
yeah,
or students, like the identity of the I don't know the character. So once you define, you don't have to repeat it again.
yes, yes,
Then
yes,
it's gonna
yes.
come
You don't have
again.
to repeat again. That's correct.
You're
Yeah,
not gonna repeat again.
that's the
Okay.
advantage of the static. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I declared as non-static here. I didn't put as static. So the drawback of this non-static is I know for all the students same college name or school name we're going to give. So if you don't have static, we need to provide same copy or same data to each object. So to each now actually student one has college name, student who has college name, same college name, student three has student four has the same college name. So this is the disadvantage, right? Like if we have let's say 100 students, 100 student objects we are creating. So for all the 100 objects, we pass the same college name or school name, and it will maintain separate copy for each object. So that is a drawback. Instead of that, what we can do, I know this is the common data for all the objects. So for maintaining common data, we can declare that variable as static. Okay, we can declare that variable as static, and we can actually it will the advantage like what static, so it will maintain one copy for all the objects, single copy for all the objects. So we can initialize here itself the college name, and
Also, you did integer of the age, right? The static would be
Yeah,
everyone.
that is also static,
Yeah.
no? So if everyone age is 18, so that also we can make. It depends on the requirement. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, we need to know the concept and requirement can be changed. So static, the purpose is to maintain common copy. Now I know this is static and I don't need to provide no separate copy. I can remove from constructor this one, and so we don't need to provide here. So because I already declared it class level, like static level, so it actually maintains same copy for all the objects now of the same class. That is the advantage of static, and it saves the memory. Now if you look at this code, right, so we declared at class level only, and we make a static. So the student one doesn't have separate copy of college. Student has, now class has it now. Now class has the college name, which is originated. So that we can actually directly using the class name. Using the class name, we can access static variable. We don't need to use the object name. Here, all the object name we use to get non-static variables like student number, student name. So here, what are the non-static variables? Student number, student name, student number, student name, and grade. These all three are non-static variables, and college name and age are static variables, and which declared and assigned only once. So that is the top advantage, like so the advantage is it saves the memory, lot of memory for common data. So it doesn't maintain separate copy for each object, the static data. It maintains at class level, and using the class we can access the static variables. That is the advantage. Any questions in this?
Okay. It's not a question, but it's like to make confirm and to
Okay.
make sure that I got it. For
Okay.
example, there is a school, right? Any school,
Yeah.
like all the kids, like maybe high school, 8th grade, so I don't know,
Yeah.
10th, 12th grade kids,
Yeah.
and they're the same school, and I want to create a data like to come out all the. I know that all the kids like 18 years old or 17 years old, and they go in the same school.
Yes.
So first I created the blueprint, like saying students, a student number, student name, and then static is basically the data that repeatedly is the same.
Yes.
So I create one time and then it will print out, will come out as the way that, is that what it does?
Yes, that's what you said.
Okay. Just, so basically when I do the blueprint, I do like the name, the when I say static, that's the same data that's going to be for all the students.
For all the student objects.
Okay.
That's correct.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Just to confirm.
Yeah. Sure. So now we spoke about variables. So there is a method also and block also. So that we will talk now. So static variable, I'll just repeat again the definition. Static variable is used to refer the common property of all objects that is not unique for each object, and each, like example is company name of employees, college name of students, college or school name of students. Static variables get memory only once, so it will allocate memory only once in a class area. That is like at the time of class loading. So at the time of class loading, it will allocate only once. Advantage of static variable. What is the advantage? It makes your program memory efficient. That means it saves more memory. That is advantage. So understand the problem without static variable. I think the same example here on the document we did. So the college name, right? ITS. If we take college name as ITS, suppose there are 500 students in my college, and now all instance data members will get. Instance means like this is the object level. So now all instance data members will get memory each time when object is created. So all students have its unique roll number and name. So instance data member is good. So that is why, like all students now have its own roll number and name, and instance data number is good. So here, like, let's here the college refers to the common property of all objects, because the college is the same data. If we make it static, so this field will get memory only once. So that means that's what it's saying. Like, if we actually make this a static, this field, like, college field will get only once the memory. So same example,
Mhm.
whatever I took here also. There's one more thing, like, program counter without static variable. Let's say, so if I want to know this example, I will run now. Okay, so you'll understand now. Suppose, let's say, if you want to know how many objects created for this class, right? So
Mhm.
this counter variable is useful. Like, let's say I'll tell you like this one. I'll run it now. Suppose I want to know, like, at any time, how many objects of student created in my program. So that we can use with like static, because static maintains single copy, right? It will actually maintain single copy, and it will use for even counter also. Let's do that. Okay, static counter, object count, static int object count. Initially it is 0. Okay, now if I want to, like, suppose if I do, like, non-static variable object count. Let's see. For each object, I can increment this object plus object count plus, because here one uh, here.
Is that
Okay.
to know how many objects you have?
Yes. So now the drawback is, like, I can't even access without this, like, object. Now let's say, so student dot object count equal student dot object count plus 1. So now this just to know, like, objects, how many objects are created. Okay. So now, so if I do this, like, I'm just incrementing the count. Okay.
Student served.
Let's print the count. Okay. Student same as, like, here. Let's see what happened. Okay. What I did, right? Each and every object, once the object is created, I just
Mhm.
incremented the object count. Okay, for each,
Yeah.
so for each object. So now it's supposed to print 4, right? Because we have like, put 4 objects here. So let's see what it will display. So now if you look at it, right, the count is showing only 1 for everything, because it maintains separate copy. Object count as is a non-static variable. Each and every time, basically what it does, it will take as 0 and it will increment. Suppose if you make this as static, let's make a static. Okay, so all just let's see. Okay, what it will. Now if you see, like, the object count is 4, it is showing, because so it maintains single copy at the counter, right? Like what it does, it is at the class level. It's a class level, so it maintains single copy. So for all the objects, that is the reason I got this. Okay, so yeah, now let me do more. So like the class name. So now this is a static I can access using class name. So I got 4, count 4, because it maintains the counter, right? Now the count is a common copy, common variable for all the objects, and we can use this for even counter also, object counter. Yeah, that is the advantage with the static. With the counter also you can get it. That's what this document says. So we can actually so each object, so program counter without static variable. So if you want to know the counter, like maintain the counter, this is very tough, and with counter is possible. That's what the same example, whatever I showed it saying. So now the next thing is static method. So we spoke about static variable. What is static method? So static method means if you apply static keyword for any method. So what are the methods here? We saw there's a get student number, set student number, all these like, right? So if you want to like make this a static, you just need to put static keyword here. So static keyword. So now this becomes static and it will allow only to access static variable. Suppose the example is that if you want to get the college name, because it's static, right? So now let me put one of the get method here, non-static, and try to pull up the data using non-static method. Get student school. And now, so which variable the student know? Yeah, it will over in 10 minutes. I'll send you the new Zoom ID. Okay, it will done. So now, which column this college or school name has? College name, right? So now return start college name. So now it will throw error, compilation error, because this is like this college name is the static variable and you're trying to get from non-static method. So if you want to access any static variable, you need to make that method as static only. So only static variable, static, like this is not required. Okay, so now yeah, now if you want to get any static data in the method, right? So we have to use the static method only. If it is non-static method, it will not access any data, like it will not access any basically static data. You can't use it. So that is the rule. So static variable will access only static method, non-static.
So only on the method that we had to uh, define the statics, or also any other statics when you call, you need to
Yeah,
define.
let's do one thing here, like static, right? If you are trying to access non-static variable, any non-static data, this is non-static. Do you agree with me?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So
student name, yeah.
when I try to return the student name, it will throw the error, because this is like cannot make it. If you observe that error, right? It says cannot make a static reference to non-static method, non-static field basically. So you cannot actually use the non-static field in static method, because this is for only static context and you can use only static methods. That is the rule. So static method can access only static data. Okay. So that is the rule. That's called static method. So what is the static method? If someone in interview they ask any method which is declared as a static keyword, it is called static method. And what is the advantage of static method? It will access static variables. Okay. Now let me go to the document. So static variable method. So if you apply static keyword, if you apply static keyword within any method, it is known as static method. and a static method belongs to the class rather than object class. So anyway, like static method we can call from the, suppose if you want to use this method, okay, get get student get student school, okay, get student school, if you want access, right? So how can we do that? We can directly use the class name instead of object name. So that's what here, if you want to if you want to call this method instead of variable directly, you can use the class name. If you observe here, the class name only I used, I didn't use any object name. So that's how, like, the static method can be accessed by class name. Suppose if there is another method, student member, right? Let's try to access this non-static method with the class name. It will not work. It throw the error message. So this is like get student number is not non-static method, because get student number doesn't have any static keyword. It's non-static method. We cannot access the non-static method with the class name. We have to use the object only. So that's what it says. So student, we can't use the class name to access non-static method. So, and we can access the static methods using class name, because it is a class level method. Okay, that's about static method. That's why it says static method can be invoked without the need of creating an instance of the class. Static method can access static data member that can change the value of it. Okay, so that's about static method. Any questions on static method? Are you clear?
So static, you can get static access only the static method or the static
Yes.
thing, right? It's not
Yes.
static, you cannot get it.
Yes. Yes.
If I will call out, okay.
Yeah.
So okay, that's for, okay. But if I want to just call, like I know when I already defined the static method, the static, I defined it static, and if I on regular, not a method, just regularly, if I want to call, so statically I call, or just like I can just call.
Yeah, if you don't want the method, if you want to just you can actually,
Like the college, let's say on college, right, student college.
okay. So now what you can do, directly you can call that method. Variable also you can call, no problem. Yeah.
I don't have to do static.
You don't. No, you can't actually. You can't call. Like let's say student number is the non-static, right? You
Yes.
cannot call that non-static member from class. It will throw the error, because this is something like related to the object. Okay, this is non-static related to the object. You have to use the object only. This is related to class, right? These are all.
Yeah.
So the class you can directly use. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But if I want to call the college, I need to define it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Okay, let's move on next thing. So
what's this?
This is like refer to the current object. Current object. Yeah.
Exactly. This is like, okay.
Current object. Okay. Yeah. So static block. What is static block? Like, so it is used to initialize any static data member. You can use static block for initializing static data member. So if you look at, right, where I initialized, what is initialization? So initialization means, like, initializing some value to the variable. Here I'm initializing originate text to college name. Here I'm initializing 18 to age. I'm initializing 0 to object count, right? So this is called initialization. So the static block can be used for initializing the data. So now what I did, I directly initialize at the time of variable declaration. So I can do, like, in static block also. So here this is static block, right? So I can do, like, I can remove this initialization here, and I can put here as initialization. So static block is used only for initializing static data. Initializing only static data. So this is called at the time of class creation only. So, and So this is only like, the two ways. Either at the time of object, like sorry, at the time of variable declaration, I can initialize, or in static block, I can initialize. So that is the static block. Okay, so it is only for initialization. So you cannot we cannot initialize non-static variable in static block. Let's try to initialize student name, okay, or student number. It will not allow. It will throw the error message. The moment when I
It
put
wouldn't work,
student,
right?
yeah, because that is object later, right? So if you put some student number, it will throw the message like cannot make static reference to non-static field student number. So you cannot make it.
Because it's object.
Yeah, correct. It's object only. Now the class,
Object.
like, the static is all class related. So yeah.
But age will be and college and then the
Yes,
okay.
yes. Age I can define here. Because
Yes.
this is some 18 or like I can put 20 here, yeah, something. I can define. I redefine.
So basically, and then why you using like, if I can just put like, if I, why the, it's like, I understand like what's how you use it, but I don't understand why you use it.
Why you use it? Why you use it for saving
Why?
the memory?
Yeah, because initialize, save
Yeah.
memory.
Save memory.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all static for saving memory. It's common data, right? Common data, college name only. Yeah.
So if I want specifically to pull something, so I initialize just like static.
Yes, yes, yes,
block.
yes.
Not specific. Okay.
Yes. So it is ending in 1 minute meeting. I will send you the new meeting invite. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm stopping. I'll send you. Just get 5 to 10 minutes. I'll send it in reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.